All right, Lulz is back. Last week we did a Super Bowl preview. The week previously we had to postpone the show because I was dealing with internet connections, but we are back and we're bringing back the guest that we wanted to do the show with a couple of weeks ago. It's Jeff Edelstein. We've had him on the program before, journalist, and has been covering not only DFS and best ball over the years, but now, of course, prediction markets and all kinds of updates on it, even since he wrote his article with Super Bowl stuff and all kinds of wild west type of behavior in the prediction market. So we'll ask him about that. And then Brian and I are going to catch up here at the top of the show. We wanted to talk a little bit about some projection controversy that had surfaced a couple of weeks ago with ETR. So back for a classic edition of Lulz. Pete, Brian, guest Jeff coming up in a little bit. Let's do it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no. And let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us. So, Brian, I hop on to do my portfolio review show on Monday, ready to go to the chat. Very first comment, Brick made me a lot of money with his AJ Barner call on the Super Bowl Showdown preview show. You did it, man. The Madden Alpha was there.
Yeah. Well, I'm a ball knower. People don't know that, Pete, but sometimes you give out the alpha for free.
That's right. It was funny, too, because I saw a clip was going around yesterday. Cooper Kupp was on the Kelsey Brothers podcast, and he was talking about the play that AJ Barner scored his touchdown on. And I guess they had the formation wrong. And Cooper Kupp started running his route and realized, oh, no, I think he was implying like he was going to run into AJ Barner. Everything was out of whack. He's like, I changed my route. AJ Barner stayed the course, finds the touchdown there. But really close to not being right there, but you were, Brian. You were.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I did not bet AJ Barner either. So
wow.
I couldn't capitalize
on
it. I don't like those first TD bets. I don't know how you feel about them, but I think those are lame. They're not fun. They're generally like bad bets. So,
well, I've thought about it a lot. I mean, there's two types of betting, right? There's like one, you're just edge maxing and you're trying to find every little thing and you build out a card and you hope when, the game is over that you have like a 6% ROI or something. But then there's also like, what do you actually want to sweat? And having like your biggest sweat be something that is immediately invalidated by the first touchdown doesn't seem like too good of a time to me.
Two of the ones I did do that were fun is will Cardi B perform? I bet no.
Okay.
And, will there be a Netflix ad?
Okay. How did you have intel on either of those?
That one was a Utica secret chat Discord. I guess you didn't see it.
No, I missed that. Was that in the in-game syndicate? Did I not get in the war room?
Yeah, you were in the war room. You got to check before the game goes live, Pete.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't know if you saw that whole Cardi B thing with big controversy over the way Kelsey scored it.
Yeah, they were. And that's kind of the stuff we're going to talk about Jeff with too. There was a huge controversy with was it Mark Wahlberg showing up at the game as well?
I don't know who the other one was.
Yeah.
There was a couple, yeah.
People were going after that fantasy bro turned sports betting bro, Alec Caruso, because he had something about a mortal lock. I think it was the Cardi B one, and then he deleted the tweet or something once it was wrong. And so everyone was flaming him for deleting the tweet of something he touted. And then he came and said, I had to take it down because some of the language I used in regards to prediction markets were illegal. And that's why I had to take it down. Not that I called something a lock and then it was not a lock.
Well, he's just protecting himself. You can't blame him. I wonder what side he was on because they scored it differently depending on the prediction market website. So,
yeah,
but it was mainly no.
Yeah.
So he must have been a yes if he was betting on Cardi B. But anyways, point I was making is like, You're like, what's fun to sweat? And like, that's fun. Right. Like, all right, is she there? oh shit, she's there. No, or like the next ad, Netflix. Come on, Netflix. That's fun.
I will admit, so April's bedtime fell right in the window that the game was starting, and Lauren cared about this game, as a New England fan. So we just said, you know what, we're gonna pause it. We're gonna record it. We're gonna go do April's bedtime. And so I actually didn't get to see any of the commercials because we fast forwarded all the way through halftime, and it doesn't sound like I missed much on the commercial front.
No, they haven't been good. Same thing with the halftime show. Is like, when was the last time the halftime show was good? People, like, I don't know. I don't even know, like, a good halftime show. But the commercials, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see any that were good. I thought Claude's was okay. The AI one, like, I get, like, at least I got their angle. I didn't see anything that was like funny.
Yeah.
Remember the Bud Bowl and stuff like that back in the day? There used to be great commercials.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it used to be the whole thing that you'd look forward to them. And I guess what's weird about it is, like, clearly a lot of money is still spent to produce these, but it seems like the bar for creativity is just low. Like, I feel like this should just be a showcase of, like, what's the coolest technology, get the funniest comedy writers. Like, why these all like mini short films that are either really funny or aesthetically pleasing? Like, that's what the Super Bowl commercials were supposed to be, but that is not the case.
Yeah. I think it's part of, like, there's just incompetent people running these giant companies. And there used to be some talent there, and now there's not. I mean, you said, it's expensive to produce them. I don't know about that ChatGPT one. I don't know if you saw that one, but you could have done that for, like, seriously, like, paying an editor like $100. You could have got not even $50.
There is some irony at it, and maybe this actually happened. I heard there was a bunch of AI commercials, but, like, were any of the AI commercials made exclusively using AI? Was that part of the meta with the AI stuff?
I don't. Maybe I missed that. I don't know. It didn't. The ChatGPT one was literally just like text over a song. I doubt the Claude one was made with AI, but like, they were doing purposely, like, the woman's mouth was moving like she was AI. But I'm not sure if that was like a real actress where they because that was part of the bit. So I'm not sure if it was all AI or if just that little part. But that's just like computer graphics they've been doing for 50 years.
Yeah. I would also say this has to have been sent, Hunter brings up the Janet Jackson titty pop. This has to be the first time since that Super Bowl, which was early 2000s, when the halftime show storyline in conversational chatter overshadowed the game itself. Because I saw way more about Bad Bunny than I did Will Campbell on my timeline throughout the course of that game in Monday.
Yeah. Who was it? The Weeknd last year?
Kendrick Lamar.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
That one was kind of big. Not as big as this one. Yeah, the game was kind of boring too, though. So maybe
it was.
Maybe, but yeah, you're right. It hasn't been. I don't remember any shows besides that one that were really controversial or that controversial. But they did all kind of stink. I know. I kind of not like them, even when they have like people I like on there. It's like, yeah, this is kind of lame.
I feel like the NFL won though, right? Like, they got people talking about the halftime show in a way that, I mean, debate, attention economy, every element of that. They got an entire political arm to spin up their own halftime show. I mean, they generated more discourse to the point where people wanted to tune in just to have an opinion about it. I feel like they crushed it.
I guess. I just don't think Goodell is that smart. Like, I don't.
People on his team that
it
are
was just like a happy accident, I guess. Like, because I doubt he reviewed what the lyrics were going to be. Like, what does that mean?
Like, did he Duolingo?
Yeah, did he do any of that? I don't. Like the whole, inclusivity thing from the guy who would suspend you for, 3 years for smoking weed, but 2 games for beating your wife half to death. Like, I don't think he really gives a fuck about inclusivity or any of that shit.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not giving Roger Goodell credit for Bad Bunny. I think someone on his team who is very smart said, "Hey, Roger, how about we book the most popular artist on the planet Earth to perform our halftime show?" And he said, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea."
Maybe. I don't know. I'd love to see that boardroom. And I don't know. I just can't imagine he doesn't have like a Lorne Michaels type of, veto / input on the halftime show of the Super Bowl.
I'm sure his opinion is weighed heavily, but I also think Roger Goodell, for all his follies, he's probably a pretty good pragmatist and is just like, this will be good for us. Everybody talking about it. I mean, because like, what's the worst outcome from everyone talking about? Like, Bad Bunny did something like truly offensive, and he probably someone probably reviewed his overall messaging, the like, love is more powerful than hate. And he's like, good, we're good to go. People will talk about this, and it's actually not even a controversial message. Godspeed, Bad Bunny.
Yeah. Maybe it's that simple. I don't know. I'd love to be a fly on that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember when Janet Jackson's boob popped out?
Oh,
that was technically a wardrobe malfunction, though. It wasn't on purpose.
And I was either a sophomore or junior in high school. I was at my
a man that day, huh, Pete?
Oh boy, did we! There are a lot of high fives. I believe we were like playing ping pong at halftime of the game, and like one of the girls at the party was like, "I think Janet Jackson's boob just," and we were like, "Stop the presses! Can you rewind that? Can you rewind that?"
This is before the internet, so like,
oh yeah,
that doesn't happen every day.
Real quick before we bring Jeff on, this was a story that I guess is like kind of died out in DFS circles, but I did just want to discuss it because it's kind of like right up our alley. And I did see some of the other podcasts were discussing this as well, and I'll pull it up on screen here. But ETR, with their NBA projections, recently made a shift in how they deploy them. And basically the TLDR is they used to put the full projections out, including minutes and all of this stuff early in the day. I think it was, noon Eastern. And what was happening is because so many people trust and rely on these projections for props, is they were essentially getting front run by other groups who would take these minutes, these projections, and then get out in front of what is ETR's prop package, essentially, because then they're going out to give out plays, and they have a tight-knit group of subscribers who pay a lot of money for those things. And so a lot of stuff was getting ruined. And so their idea to kind of circumvent this, it was to do two things. Was one, not show the minutes until later in the day, late afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern, and then also to apply randomness to their current projections. And the reason the randomness stuff was a sticking point is because they provide rankings now for like underdog contests. And so people pay for that because they want those rankings. At least DFS bros, like, they don't necessarily need the perfect projection until they're finalizing lineups later, but people drafting at noon Eastern might want that. So their solution was, we'll put a randomness on it. The rankings will still be in the order that we rank these players from best to worst, but you won't be able to reverse engineer our exact projection and front run us in the prop betting market and dilute our product. I think that's the TLDR of what occurred here, but I was curious if you had any thoughts about this and how ETR handled it.
Yeah, I think you summarized that perfectly. Trying to be the best for everybody. Their prop guys who do best ball drafts, and then the NBA guy and the DFS guys. Because the DFS guys, you don't need this stuff till 4:30, maybe at the earlier. Some guys like doing it early, but like, you don't have to do it early, and because you're gonna have to redo it with the NBA anyways, and you're there all day, all night. I mean, with the NBA and DFS. So yeah, I just think it's funny whenever they do something like this, how much shit they get. It just kind of cracks me up, and I'm happy it's not me.
It does. I did think back to when they released the solver for best ball, and just the vitriol being spewed. I guess here's the thing. So people were upset about this. My thought was, most of the people who were really upset about it were basically just kind of telling on themselves that they were getting an extremely good deal on their sub at ETR, because they were able to use these in a way to front run, to scale their process, to get action out in a larger way. Like, they were probably leveraging it in a way that was making them a decent chunk of change. And if you're mad about it, you were probably making a lot of money, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. What is it, like the few guys who like messing around with lineups at work early in the day, like inconvenience a little bit? Like, I don't know. I can't really think of a situation where that matters, because I'm assuming if there's a different start time, like on Saturday, they adjust this accordingly. So I can't
Right.
see how it would affect any DFS player. It's kind of like, I don't know, like there's just like a certain type of person who thinks that, like, the customer's always right type of thing. Like your product belongs to them because they paid for it. It's like, how could you change something? It's like, it's not your property. They could technically do whatever the fuck they want. It's theirs,
Right.
and they just feel entitled to what they've been used to. Something like that. That's, I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. I don't know who that person is.
I mean, the only other take I had on it, and it's something we've discussed previously on Lulz, even when you guys were launching or when you guys had acquired Run the Sims, and like this idea of pricing DFS products is really, really hard because there's power users who get an insane deal off of the tool. And then there's kind of casual players who might only play $20 a slate, $100 a slate, who can't justify a $600 a month, Sim subscription, and pricing that accordingly is really hard because of the variation in the user base. Yeah. My only thought was, why not have a tiered sub where if people want to pay for the early minutes, they can, and price that high, like price it at a place where you think might mitigate some of that front running stuff. And if someone really cares about it, let them find the tipping point of like, hey, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month is worth it for me to get these minutes, 5 hours earlier from everybody else. And like, I don't know, just try to appease the people who really want it, but find the price point that makes it worth it. But maybe that's not realistic.
Yeah. Well, my solution was like the draft caddy, where you could overlay the numbers on the underdog. And so, if you can scrape that and then reverse engineer it, more power to you, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, at least you could still do it whenever. And but there's really no when you're putting the info out there, people can reverse engineer your stuff, and it's only a matter of time. So
yeah, and like at the end of the day, it's a pretty good problem to have, where people in all corners of DFS, sports betting, now prediction markets are pretty interested in your projections to help them make money. Like that's good for your brand, at least. Like we had to switch our process because our projections were so good that people were front running and reverse engineering it before we wanted it to be public.
Yeah, I guess that's the only other person I could guess understand is they kind of thought it was just too much. Like, just like, you don't need to do all this. You know what I mean? Like, just don't release it, or release it later, or whatever. I don't know. Like, I guess I could see that point of view.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is like, if you think about, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but my guess would be the people who subscribe, like, what do you think? Because my guess would be like sports bettors and prop bettors are like the biggest amount of like customer base, followed by DFS players, followed by underdog drafters who use the rankings for Battle Royale. And a lot of this is to service the underdog Battle Royale drafters, because like you said, the DFS salary cap bros don't need it at noon.
No.
So, you're now, it's like you're trying to weigh the two poles of your demo with the sports bettors and the underdog drafters.
Maybe they should have went in hindsight. Like, I doubt it mattered. This kind of blew over because we did this late. We lost like a week or two there. They should, maybe in hindsight, they should have just done the rankings for the best ball bros and then release this at 4 or whatever for DFS, whatever their time is for DFS people.
Yeah.
And then the props comes out before that.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll continue to tweak, and they'll have like more important data to them of like, are they losing subs because of this change? If there's no tangible difference in the bottom line, then they probably made a good decision. If they lose a lot of people or something, then they might be like, oh, this wasn't a good decision. But my guess is it's the classic internet thing. Well, people will complain or make fun of it, but not actually vote with their dollar or their wallet on it.
Yeah. 80% of those people probably don't even have a sub, or they get
Oh yeah. There was like one guy on Twitter that I could tell he was like from the sports betting world, who was like very upset. He was like both making fun of them, but also upset about it in a way that was like, you're just upset that the faucet got turned off for a big part of your prop betting process. That was the vibe I got from the from the posts.
Yeah, I believe it.
All right, let's bring on our guest of honor here. Postponed a couple of weeks. Jeff, welcome back to the program. Excited to have you.
Thank you. You didn't mention at the top, there was a lot of controversy when your internet went down because I was 98 cents to appear on Kalshi and Polymarket. Kalshi nixed the bet. Polymarket paid on the no. So it's, a lot of people made a big money on Polymarket.
Yeah, I hammered that line, by the way, when I found out.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody who got it at 98 cents.
Yeah, too bad your internet went out. Pete.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's in on it. Pete Overzet's in on it. There's a copy pasta from the Deposit Kingdom Discord when this one guy a few years back went on a tirade and said underdogs rigged, and one of his lines was like, underdogs rigged, everyone's in on it, Pete Overzet's in on it. So that's whatever. Yes, the vast conspiracy to get my internet shut off. But yeah, Jeff, what man, I feel like we have a lot to cover because you've been covering all kinds of different things, from even your most recent article, FanDuel to stop accepting credit card payments. But initially we booked you to talk about all of this prediction market madness.
Yeah. I think I had written a column. It was right after we snatched the Venezuelan president out of his pajamas. I think that's what we were talking about. And and Chris Hayes, the MSNBC guy, right? This is what really triggered it. Chris Hayes, MSNBC or MS Now, whatever he's on, he goes on the Stephen Colbert show, okay? And they tape it like at 5:00. And he's leaving the show, and his buddy texts him and says, "Hey, there's a market up on you." I think it was Kalshi. What is Chris Hayes going to say on Colbert? And so if you were sitting in the studio audience, or if you were Chris Hayes or whatever, you know exactly what Chris Hayes is going to say on Colbert because he said it already, right? And this just got me thinking, there's been so much talk about the insider information. The Kalshi CEO says we're banning insider information. Polymarket says more insider information, the better. We get the truth out. And it just dawned on me that, unless you just flipping coins for fun, if there's a market out there that somebody knows the answer to, I am staying the hell away from it. I want no part of it. How long is Mr. Beast's next video going to be? Somebody knows, right? And there, and if I was that somebody, I just, gently goose the market in my direction and wait for suckers like me to pour it on the other side. So no, I'm out. So if you don't know the answer, you shouldn't be in these markets. That was my big take. Half the people agreed, half the people didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I always just think of the phrase you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes with it. If that's the market you're betting on, I mean, does it, I haven't been on the sites at all. I haven't even seen how quickly the price changes, but when there is insider information, doesn't the price start to skew really quickly because everyone's momentum trading that or whatever?
If a bunch of people know the answer, then I would imagine that would happen. But if only one or two people know the answer, right? I'm not. If I know the answer to something, I'm not going to come in with $1,000 or $10,000. I'll come in with $50, then $75, then $100. Just gentle to goose it. These markets. Listen, I'm agnostic on prediction markets. Love them, hate them, use them, don't use them. I don't care. Right? It's fascinating to me. But the idea that these things are here, in the beginning, when they were first invented, the idea was to get the real truth out there. And in certain things, they really do that, right? You saw how good they did with the elections, last year, calling Trump, Trump was the heavy favorite there. But then, there's have you seen the Jesus Christ market on Polymarket?
Yeah. I think Brian's referenced that on the show.
Well, have you seen the latest Jesus Christ market on Polymarket?
Didn't it go up? The odds go up that he's returning?
Yes. So all year long, it's been around, will he return this year? And all year long, it's been at, talk about being agnostic about something as a Jew. So whatever, right? But all year long, it's been at 1.8 cents, 2.25 cents. It's been hovering around there, which honestly, I think, the no is a pretty good bet. It's been 2,000 years. It's not here yet. But all right, then it popped to 4 cents, overnight. Why did it pop? Because now there's a derivative market on Polymarket. Will the odds of Jesus Christ returning in 2027 be above 5 cents on February 17th between the hours of midnight and 1 a.m.? So people are betting into that mark. People are betting Jesus, yes, will return in order to push the derivative market up. Then once that hits, they sell here. So, I mean, what are we doing?
That's smart.
I
I figured the line went up from a bet from the Vatican, possibly. So insider info again strikes. Go ahead, Pete.
No, I was just envisioning like the scenario where Jesus does return and it is so obvious, like the heavens absolutely open up and an almost like alien-like figure with long glowing hair and a white robe descends onto planet Earth, and the no side would still find a way to semantically say that Jesus did not technically return. Like they're never settling that bet one way or the other. I don't care how strong the evidence is that Jesus did return.
Right. He comes down and says, you know what, call me Jim. And that's it. You know, all the no's win.
What if it's Bad Bunny?
What if they tried to grade it? No, Jesus did return.
Well,
He was
I don't know if you saw the Kelce Cardi B rules, Pete. They were like the dumbest thing ever. It was literally like performance is defined as like being a dancer, singer during the show. Not performance is defined as being a dancer, singer, performer during the show. There was like the exact same definition for no and yes.
They paid out both sides in the end. They traded. I think they stopped the trading at some point, and they paid out the no at 74 and the yes at 28 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they ate the cost on that just to make everybody happy.
I guess.
Really. I think they paid out just 100. Maybe they ate the vig or whatever, but like they didn't like pay both sides like FanDuel would, or DraftKings would if they had some weird thing where they're paying out both sides.
And Polly paid the no, right?
And yeah, everyone else I think just went straight no.
Right.
But the rules were a little more defined. I mean, I think it doesn't really matter what I think, but I don't give a shit. Like, I think you should be able to bet on the WWE, and people have forever, and those shit, that's all predetermined. And if you want to bet on the dumb WWE, go right ahead. Right. If you get screwed by Cardi B having a fight with fucking Stefan Diggs because his baby mama or whatever got front row seats and she didn't, that's your fault.
Wait. Is there, so again, because I'm not super familiar with like the actual process of like creating these markets, like if you create one, do you stipulate the terms of how it's graded? Like how is that happening? The like it's graded yes if this happens, if no, like who's actually setting the legalese or whatever, the fine print on how it's being graded?
I have no idea. I would assume either boilerplate or Kalshi does it themselves. I honestly have no idea.
Because that's like the rub on all of this stuff. It's like you can offer any market, but you basically need a lawyer to draft a document on what constitutes it being yes or no.
But well, even if you do, so I think the Kelce one, Pete, I'm pretty positive was Kelce.
Yeah,
they
created it.
Yeah, but my understanding is you can create your own. But even so, your point is valid because even if we did a fun one with the three of us and had people, just like a small little market on Pete's internet go out in 2026 again, or whatever. They still have to like grade that somehow, so I don't know. And I guess if there must be enough customers complain, then it goes to some board or something, and then they look into it, but you still need somebody there to check these markets.
Well, Kalshi, I think does it like human. I think Polymarket like does this like everyone gets a vote like in the somehow
like a blockchain thing.
Yeah, and that like about 6-8 months ago there was a market on the Ukrainian president whether or not he was going to wear a suit.
Yeah,
and he was wearing something that kind of looked like a suit, but not a suit that you're buying at Marshalls or whatever. So
they call it a suit there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that got controversial.
So do you think is the risk here that eventually one of these kind of insider trading markets becomes such a big story that it forces, legislation to look into it and it topples the entire house of cards?
Well, if America was operating as a normal country right now, then possibly. But right now, no. The CFTC. I mean, their main office in Chicago, or whatever. They have no lawyers. Like, there's nobody running the store. Literally, They just they named the new guy Selig as they got running the show, but there's no I'm missing the words here, but there's no lawyers that are looking into anything right now. So right now, what these companies are doing, as we are in the move fast and break things, and there's nobody there to say tisk tisk tisk, you can't do this. It makes the Wild West look like kindergarten nap time.
It will be used, Pete. I think, like, almost certainly. Like, speaking of making our own market, we could do this one too. I think it will be used though legislatively, so not from the CFTC, but from legislators.
They're trying,
and it's a great little power move. So something you're being you're lobbying we saw this recently with the Nevada woman who was sponsoring the legislation to get rid of the tax in the big
Titus.
Titus, and now she's opposed to prediction markets,
right.
And it's like, well, because she's her benefactors are all the casinos in Nevada who hate prediction markets, and it cuts into their budget. So of course she's going to be opposed to it. So and this will happen in California, etc. These legislators will hop on anything that is useful to get their agenda accomplished. So I know that sounds cynical, but in my experience, that's exactly what happened. So my guess is that is something that is definitely going to occur. I'm a yes on that market.
A bunch of states are trying. They have their own legislation. Titus just introduced a bill to ban anything that looks like casino or sports betting, nationwide. That bill's not going to go anywhere. She's a Democrat right now, so that's dead in the water. California, the tribes obviously are fighting against this. There's a million different cases going on right now. I'm not going to pretend to know where those cases are going to end, but the vast majority of people that I've spoken to generally assume that at one of these cases will wind its way, to the Supreme Court, and that's where it'll get a little bit interesting, right? Because the Supreme Court, there's two sides to this. You say, well, this is federal this is a financial product. That's what they call it, right? It's it should fall under the auspices of the CFTC or whatever. And then, but on the other side, it's also very common sense. 95% or 90% of their action is sports betting. Call it whatever you want, but it's sports betting. It's exactly like sports betting. And the Supreme Court, 7 years ago said, hey, this is a states' rights issue. You could decide whether or not you want sports betting in your state. So do they go, which direction do they go? That's the question, right? Nobody knows the answer. But if it gets there, that's when we'll find out. So, in the meantime, stay tuned. And in the meantime, everybody anyone who does not have a real brick and mortar presence is jumping in the prediction markets, right? That's basically the split. If you're mostly online or all online, you're jumping in prediction markets, DraftKings, FanDuel, Prize Picks, whatever. If you're putting your Las Vegas license at risk or your Atlantic City license at risk, you're not jumping in the prediction market space.
What is your read on how many traditional sports bettors, DFS players are really starting to take it seriously as a place to kind of pivot where the liquidity is, where the edges are? Obviously, we've heard stories about Rufus, who's been getting into it, but I don't really have a good feel for how many other people are heading that way.
Whenever I interview someone for a story, this usually does come up, and so some traditional sports bettors are, some are not, and I know that's kind of a namby-pamby answer, but it's true. And I'm not talking about just, guys like me betting $20 on a game. I'm talking the big names.
Yeah.
Some say, yeah, no, we haven't really looked into it yet. We don't need to, we have enough liquidity. We have enough places to get down otherwise. But yeah, I saw somebody posted something. They compared all the odds on the Super Bowl, from all the sports books and the prediction markets, and the prediction markets were about there, a point or a penny here, a penny there. So I'd say of the traditional sports betting people, yeah, plenty of them are looking into it, but many of them still aren't. But I think really where they're making the headwinds is with more like the common non-sports betting person. And I say that just, and younger people too. I have a 16-year-old son, and he's not into any of this, but he knows Kalshi, and he says some of his friends are into it, who are.
You're not like Rovell, willingly encouraging your young offspring to head
Dude.
down this gambling slope.
So let me tell you about my young offspring. So he's a 16-year-old boy, and he is all 16-year-old boy, right? So I've sat him down. I'm like, dude, a couple beers, couple of shots, not going to kill you, but drink a bottle of vodka, you're going to end up in the hospital. You might die, And I say to him, listen, dude, smoke a little weed, not going to kill you. Don't let it become like a habit, but like you do pills, coke, whatever, it might kill you. You don't want to do it. So like, I'm trying to like thread that needle, right? And be honest with the kid. I've had the gambling talk with them. Don't gamble. That's basically
there's no dabble equivalent with the other things,
because it feels like listen, man. If all this was available to me at 16 years old, 18 years old, I would have been in some deep trouble.
I would have been rich. Rich.
Yeah. I would have gotten rich, and then I would have given it all away, then some. Knowing myself.
I wish they would have had legal video game betting and all sorts of stuff like that. I wouldn't even went to college, probably. I'm kidding.
Wow. What a cat. No, I'm thankful for it. I mean, I was a gambling addict almost, but it was just all through the lens of playing home poker games for $20. And
Same
so
here,
I continually scratched that itch, but the stakes were always low enough and there was always enough friction for how to get more cash that it never actually led to anything detrimental.
Yeah, old enough to remember when you had to go to the bank between 9 and 3 Monday to Saturday. If you want to get cash. But yeah, poker, right? I mean, from age 15 to like 25, there was always, if I needed 5 guys for a poker game, it was a 3-minute phone call and we were set,
It was so big back in the day, man. Everyone played cards. There was a home poker game somewhere, some bar, someone's house. That was fun. You guys make it sound so bad. That was actually pretty
I loved it.
Oh no, I had a blast. I was when I went out and played that World Poker Tour tournament in December, I was sitting next to this guy who lives in Utah and he's retired. And he's like, yeah, I still have this game out of my garage. He basically retrofitted his garage to be a poker room, hires the dealers, has the food spread, all of that twice a week. Like one night will be a tournament. The other will be cash game, whatever. And I'm like, that sounds nice. Just rolling over to the buddy's house in the neighborhood in the garage, playing a little organized poker. Take me back, guys. Take me back.
Every few months, my high school friend a game will pop up. Like on a random Wednesday, Eddie will text, "Hey, anyone around? You want to play?" And it happens, and it's just we're playing the same stakes we played, 30 years ago. Nobody, it's just for fun. Deuces Wild, One-Eyed Jack, Suicide Kings. Nobody's playing for
for sure
for skill.
So so you, like I mentioned before, you've been writing about a ton of different topics. I assume like the most interesting stuff is happening in the prediction market space. Is it hard to find interesting stories about DFS and fantasy sports right now?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the prediction markets is just sucking up all the oxygen, and if you had told me 2 years ago that I would even know what CFTC was, you could have knocked me over with the feather. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout for more, DFS and fantasy stuff. And that's where I like playing my games anyway. But yeah, it's obviously right now, like you can't go to a gambling conference. You can't talk. I've been hosting the Business of Betting podcast. I've been doing it now for 4 or 5 months. Every single episode, even if I'm not trying to talk about prediction markets, it comes around to it, no matter who I'm talking to, because this is just, we're going to, in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years from now, what is the gambling landscape going to look like in this country? And the answer is we don't know. Even, here's something that people aren't talking about that I know is happening behind the scenes. There are people out there with the prediction markets who have developed very easily. Will the next spin of this wheel, will the ball land on number 17 at, 38 to 1 odds? Right?
I believe that is called roulette.
It's exactly called that. On the next deal, let's say me and you sit down and we see, 5 cards in the middle of the screen, and I'm holding 2 cards down, and you're holding 2 cards down, and the question is, who will win this hand? 61% says it'll be you. I mean, this is, and we're doing it against each other. We're predicting whose hand is better against each other. This is going to, before the end of the calendar year, you're going to see this. I guarantee it. Right.
Yeah. So some of these markets, though, I'm sure they'll happen, and they'll probably won't catch fire. They're kind of like boring or cumbersome, and what becomes popular, no one can control more than we know what the gambling world will look like 5 years from now either. So I do think, though, like an important distinction that I don't see a lot in articles and such is that you're not against the house here. This isn't the Wild West. You're betting against another human being. And that is a big difference.
It is. You're not really, I mean, in most cases, you're probably betting against Susquehanna.
Well, I mean, do you call Rufus Peabody? Is that your nickname for him? I mean,
no. But there's there's institutional money, being on most of this other side of a ton of these trades.
Sure,
but yes, you are against. Yes, technically, it's
I mean, even if it's not, I mean, I think I'd rather bet against Susquehanna than Rufus in some of these golf markets, anyways. Right, they might not be as good, honestly, some of them. But I mean, I do think that these prediction markets will eventually look more like the poker head-to-head rooms, where it's just like the best 10 players in the world who control all the head-to-head games, and you have to sit down against them to play. So like no one plays head-to-head anymore. So right now is kind of a golden age for those guys, I think, because like you said, there are a lot of young people, and having access to Robinhood, I think is big for Kalshi, really big for Kalshi. Like I didn't even bet those 2 bets I talked about earlier. Pete, my brother has a Robinhood account. I'm like, throw some money on these 2 for me. Because you can't bet Kalshi in Illinois, but you can do Robinhood. So there are ways around it, but either way, I do think the distinction of this is peer to peer should matter. I think in politics, none of this stuff, this kind of detail matters. It's just a power game, and they're going to use what works and hand wave away what's inconvenient. But I think it should matter. Like there's a big difference between a sports book putting up a bunch of lines, limiting sharp bettors, and you putting up your opinion and some other guy across the country disagreeing and betting it. Like, I don't think many people would actually be opposed to it if it was explained to them this way. It's like, Jeff thought the sun was going to come up tomorrow and I didn't. We bet $10. He was right. I was wrong. Like, okay, you're an idiot. So what?
Jeff, do you think, because I think one of the things that's been a little bit disappointing is initially the idea of prediction markets was not so sports betting focused and just like a proxy or workaround. There were all these other use cases that seemed legitimately interesting, including the high profile 2024 election, where this French whale was highly incentivized to get the right outcome on the election. And that was a really strong indicator of what was actually going to happen. I think that's the thing that's more macro exciting about prediction markets. And even the things that those CEOs will go on podcasts and trumpet as the future of them. And yet all we talk about now when it comes to prediction markets is how the sports betting-esque things get settled on that site. And so do you think there's still a future for the more idealized version of prediction markets, or is it just going to become the unwashed sports betting mass?
Yeah, so the second part of the question kind of first, I think the reason we're talking about it is because, you do the math, and we've been doing a lot on in-game, more than 90% of their, of the cash coming through is coming through on sports. So it's become like by leaps and bounds, like the dominant moneymaker for them. But yeah, no, I think, listen, if I wanted to know right now, what are the odds? Are we going to invade Iran in next week, whatever? I trust the wisdom of the crowds there on Kalshi or Polymarket or whatever, more than I would trust whatever I'm seeing on CNN or MSNBC. And so for that, I think the idealized version of what this could be will definitely survive and possibly thrive. The question is, will they be allowed to, will they be able to make any money doing it if they can't do sports, right? I think that's going to end up being like the real answer, because these prediction markets, they've had the Predict It, which is based, it's like out of New Zealand or whatever. It's like some educational tool that's been around forever. And there was I can't remember the Iowa something.
There was a teacher at a university, and I think it was Iowa, who had like a small little one that was used for class purposes.
Right. But yeah, and so yes, I think the idealized version of it will exist, but I think whether or not these companies are Coke and Pepsi, like huge monsters, is going to depend on whether or not they can take sports bets, right? And as you can see, like the DraftKings and the FanDuels, they're hedging their bets, right? I interviewed Jason Robbins a couple months ago, and I asked him, I said, why are you getting into prediction markets because you think there's a huge future there, or to cover your ass? And I really expected the PR guy to be like, don't answer that, just shut up. He answered it. He said, yeah, both. Like they don't know what the future holds. So, they're covering all their bases.
I thought when it first started happening, we said on the show a bunch of times, I'm like, I don't know why they're being this aggressive. It seems like a mistake to me. Like, I feel like they could have like got their foot in the door and had the legislative like on lockdown with these markets that we were talking about. And then you slowly put that in there when you've got like a hammer lock on all the yeses and nos. And it's like, well, we can't get rid of them now. It's been 10 years, So but maybe it's a win either way. Like, let's say they ban sports betting or something. Well, they've gotten a lot of market share in this immediate to just, even if they go back to only these prediction markets, they've increased their publicity, their shareholders and stuff like that and stuff. So like, and they've probably made a bunch of money on the way. So maybe they're the smart ones, and I'm a dummy, but I thought it was kind of crazy. But I'm also thinking back to poker, where like you would have like we were just talking about how crazy the poker boom was. You could have told, I guarantee each one of us back then, like, hey, they're going to outlaw poker, and guess what? No company's going to pick it up, and there's going to be no legal poker in the country for 10, 15 years, and even then, it's only going to be in like one state or two. We would have been like, fuck you.
Right.
Like, my grandma plays poker. Like, everyone, they can't do that. And plus, companies are greedy. They're going to want money. And they have these politicians paid off. That doesn't make any sense. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. So, like, that's where this is where I'm coming from, where it's like, why would you mess with these people when they already have a big, huge W under their belt not that long ago? That's very similar to this.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Maybe that's why, right? Because all this has like this is like DFS times 1,000 a little bit, right? Going back to when DFS was under the gun, and so right, if you're again, I can't speak for the draft for the DraftKings C-suite, but listen, you won once with DFS, you won twice with sports betting, all in again on prediction markets. Why not?
Took one L with the NFTs when they released the draft.
NFTs. Oh, I forgot. They're not the only ones who took an L in NFT.
Oh,
let's be real on that.
I got
who lost more? Us or
I'm gonna guess DraftKings.
It's probably DraftKings. But like DraftKings has played this the best, I think. Like, and that Jason Robbins doesn't get nearly enough credit. Like, he gets shit on way too much. It's amazing some of the things he's pulled off. Like, I'm not happy with everything DraftKings does. I'm not glazing DraftKings here. But
I feel the glaze, dude. You're glaze maxing.
Yeah,
hard
I'm Jester maxing right now. The DraftKings decision, I think, is just like a real smart move. They can't lose really either way. Because like, even if it does go that way where they ban sports betting, it's like, okay, good for us. We already have sports betting, and now we could try this, soft launch the prediction only aspect of this too, if they wanted to, or cancel it, and eat the losses. But they should be good.
I'm also guessing a major reason why DraftKings and FanDuel, and others in the sports betting and fantasy space got into this is because we're still sitting on California and Texas, which is some like 20% of the nation without legalized sports betting, right? So you can't just, if somebody else is getting it, Kalshi, right? You can't, what are you going to sit on the sidelines and let them take it? It seems you can't, right? You have to go for it. So,
yeah. It like, to me, and almost to Brian's point too, of like going too hard at it from the sports betting angle, I think it would be fun if these sites did try to embrace the idealized version more in creative ways. Like, I was just thinking, what if you had like the sports betting championship, but it was for like political events, various things. You could toss the Oscars in there, other big like tentpole stuff, and let people buy in for an amount, and then have these play money where they wager on these markets, and whoever is the best forecaster across these different disciplines. And I would be interested in tracking that. Content would be fun to make around it, discover who's the best forecaster in the world. Like, there's some fun stuff they could do with the platform they have, and actually reshape the narrative that this is more than just, glorified sports betting.
Yeah. We could even create a fantasy league around it. We could draft the top, the top prognosticators and put them on the team. There's a lot they could do with it, obviously. I mean, we are certainly in the top of the first inning when it comes to all this stuff. I guess, the first order of business is to continue being legal, or at least, continue to be not legal. Right. And that's the battle. I mean, we've been trying to figure out how much Kalshi has like spent on lawyers already, like for real. We spent a day doing this over at InGame, like using all manner of like detective work. Couldn't find an answer, but like, we're talking, $50-60 million probably was like, best guess. And they've only just begun, because every day there's another lawsuit being filed against them, So who knows where it's going to end? Anyone who tells you that they know doesn't know. And, I'm waiting for the market to open up on whether or not that's probably the best way we'll know what's going to happen. Will Kalshi be still operating illegally in America in 2030?
My prediction is it'll be illegal in a few states, legal in a whole bunch, and then some sort of like hybrid deal in a few states. Then it'll be a mixed state strategy. I think that's where I think it's most likely to go. But of course, I have no idea. Pete, what about this too? Like, lean into the peer-to-peer angle. You could easily do like a commercial. You have two guys sitting at a table, like, Jesus is going to return tomorrow. Like, no, he's not, you idiot. And then it's like Kalshi has it, right? And just have the line. Then people like, oh, you could actually put up your own lines and settle disputes and come and bet, and you're only betting against some idiot on a couch,
How about this for a fun, like, debate style show? You put in like 100 of the most ridiculous markets on Kalshi or whatever, and you put it on a wheel, and you spin the wheel, and you have somebody take the pro and someone take the con or whatever, and just debate just some, like the Jesus, will Jesus come back, and just debate that with a straight face. Like, that would be a perfect content show for one of those sites to heavily, publicize their offerings.
Well, you're not busy. Why don't you pitch it?
You know what they should do? They should sponsor that Steve Harvey show. What's the Steve Harvey show?
Family Feud.
Family Feud. Because that's all those are polls.
True.
What's the number one? Yeah, so you put all those polls up on Polymarketer Kalshi, and then you go and Steve Harvey goes, according to Kalshi, who's the number one thing your wife says after blah, blah, blah. There you go.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff they could do with it. Yeah. I just, like, selfishly, I'm almost bored with the conversation of like prediction markets vis-a-vis sports betting. I'm like, there's so much other interesting stuff going on with prediction markets, but it's just all lost with the sports betting stuff.
Yeah. Hey, but you haven't played around with it at all?
No.
Yeah. Because
I'm not in, like,
is it legal?
One, I don't think I can get on it in mass. But even then, I just haven't found a use case that seemed really fun or intriguing for me. And I'm just like, I like to bet. I like to play fantasy sports, but I'm just like not one of those guys that gets really excited to go bet some random market.
Right.
I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me.
I've done it a few times. I did it for the New Jersey governor's race. And I made a few bucks. I thought that the Republican was being undersold. So I bought, and I was right, for 5 cents. I got out. I was happy about that. And then I saw what's that? The One Battle After Another movie, and the kid, the teenager, I thought she was going to win Best Supporting Actress, and there was like buzz building for it. So I bought it like at 3 cents, and it shot up to like 70 cents. I'm like, oh man, this is great. I'm going to run this all the way. Not to win, just to be nominated. I'm going to run this all the way to the dollar. She's a lock, And then they announced that they were going to try to get her Best Actress instead of Best Supporting Actress, and it fell to 1 cent. And so I'm like, man, that was not as fun as I wanted it to be.
I do think that is a fun use case. If there's a specific market that you have domain expertise on, or some kind of information that isn't just widely available, then that's like a fun impetus to get on there and play around.
And that's what it was from the beginning, as I was saying, like in the article, that like if you can't be going into markets where the answer is known and expect to be long-term profitable.
No,
I think it has some crossover appeal to a little more than sports betting does. If you're like looking to get females involved in your company, like in some of those markets. And Jeff, another good point that I don't hear talked about a lot, the difference between a sports book and these is you could sell your position, and you don't have those shitty DraftKings cash out odds that they give you.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, pennies on the dollar bullshit that they're swindling people with. How do you guys feel about this credit card, this new credit card rule at FanDuel? And do you think they should be doing any of this stuff with prediction markets? Jeff, have you written about that yet?
The credit card
TLDR.
Yeah, the credit card thing, the DraftKings banned them last summer, and on paper it looks like a big, like, responsible gambling victory, but it's not. It's just, from what people I've talked to, said basically it's a pain in the ass to take credit cards, and it costs a shit ton of money to take credit cards, and so it's just easier to not take credit cards, and any like residual RG, bump they get from it, so much the better. But yeah, apparently it's just a pain in the ass.
And you got to deal with chargeback stuff, which I know happens even with just my Shopify store where I sell merch. Like once a month I get someone trying to do a fraudulent like purchase and then they hit me with the chargeback. And if I don't get to it in time, then I have to pay this $15 fee. It's annoying. And I can't imagine the scale it happens for these guys.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, not only can you use credit cards on cash or whatever, now they want to allow buying on margin, like buying stocks, right? You could buy stocks on margin. So like theoretically you could on margin take the Giants and the points, which, I mean, it just seems like not the best idea.
Yeah. What is the name of the company? Kalara or whatever? Klarna?
Right, where they give you just call up and they give you $500.
Yeah.
No strings attached.
I saw
97,000% interest.
Bet now, pay later.
Right.
Goodness. I saw a take from a DFS player. I actually wasn't familiar with their account or whatever, but they were saying that this is like a huge hit for DFS players because one of the things high volume guys will do to kind of offset rake is churn through credit card points. And that was a way to kind of, raise your expected value playing DFS. And now that takes that off the table.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, now FanDuel and DraftKings are both done with it. So yeah, that would have been a good thing to do.
They were probably DraftKings and them probably had it because they were in the customer acquisition phase of their maturity, and then now they're probably not seeing the rate of return on credit card deposits, and it's bros like him who are depositing over and over again with their credit card, and they're like, this is not worth it. I would just say though, this is a genius, like politically, this is a genius way to play it, because when they're negotiating these bills, there's, they call them stakeholders, and it's like the people on one side, usually business interests, and then the lobbyists are like advocates on the other side trying to get something passed. In this case, like gambling reform. It's like a win-win for them if they could be like, we'll give up credit card transactions we'll do it, okay, we'll do that, but then we need a little something too, right? We need higher barrier of entry for our competitors because, et cetera, X, Y, and Z. And then, but meanwhile, in the back of their mind, they're going, shit, we want to get rid of credit card transactions anyways. So like, I doubt this was done legislatively or maybe, behind closed doors like that, but what a perfect storm if they did pull something like that off.
Yeah.
Because like how many bros on Twitter have been saying, get rid of the credit cards, get rid of the credit cards. It's like, yeah, I mean, you got to be careful what you say out there because they will use, they're not playing this game. I saw some tweet earlier where people were talking about like taxes or something. And they're like, having just like this rational discussion. And it's like, that's nice. And you guys are really rational, but that's not how it's actually going to go down at the Capitol. Like it has nothing to do with the balance, in the budget and anything like that. Like this is a game, like Game of Thrones of power, and they're going to use all your goodwill if it suits them. And so like all these, this is like kind of a warning to Jeff too. Like you write an article and then somebody who reads it's like, ooh, perfect. They're not thinking, oh, he's right, that's immoral, right? They're thinking we can use this, or we gotta bury this shit. We can never get this mentioned if it hurts them, depending on the point of view.
I'd like to have your brain for a day just to see what it's like. Conspiracy behind every corner.
A lot of gooning going on inside that brain, Jeff. Be careful what you wish for. Oh my goodness. All right, I don't know where my camera went here. What else was I gonna say?
I was told my Twitter feed is perfectly healthy by Adam Levitan, so I don't know what Pete's talking about.
It's good. Yeah, I have a question for you, Pete. What's the best ball meta going to be for this coming year?
Real quick, can you still hear me? I know my video.
I can hear you. Can't see you.
The best ball meta this year. That's a very good question. I feel like we've been inching this way for a while, but still way more portfolio management conversation. I think as a lot of newbies, they have we've evolved past some of the table stakes things with correlation and all of that. And now that people are playing at such high volume, I think the conversation on how to balance a portfolio, how to get the most out of it without like basically suffering a risk of ruin, of going too all in on stuff.
Sounds about right.
Which is a pivot a little bit from some influencers, Pete, where big time, let's take some stands, bros. Let's take big stands. And that's the opposite of the portfolio management guys.
Did we lose Pete there?
We might have.
I think we might have. Yeah, I took a big stand last year. I had this in my head. I wanted to load up in the back end of the draft with like possession receivers, right? To kind of like get me through weeks when my like stud receivers like didn't get it done. So I went heavy on Wan'Dale Robinson, huge victory, and Adam Thielen, huge loss, and nothing to show for it at the end of the year.
Yeah. When Thielen got traded, were you like, oh, this is my big chance?
I wanted him. I wanted him dinking and dunking on the Panthers all year, not being like the third choice on the Vikings. So, easy come, easy go. Always next year.
Now, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're frozen.
Video feed. Is it frozen for you?
Yeah. But it's not a bad frozen. Like your eyes are open and stuff.
I don't know what's going on, but I guess I hope you didn't take the no on will Pete have internet issues. Sorry. So I was giving my thing about portfolio management. What do you think will be the meta?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't follow it as close as you do. I mean, you live it and breathe in it. But I was just telling Brian, like last year, I really went hard on the idea of loading up on possession receivers at the back end of the draft to get me through weeks when, my AJ Browns and my Jamar Chases bombed. And I got Wan'Dale Robinson, which is a major victory, and Adam Thielen. They were both like 35% on my team. So it didn't work. Every year I try something a little bit different. And every year I just can't seem to get there. All I know is the first year I played was the second year of Best Ball Mania. I drafted one team and I made the finals. and
There you go.
it's been a downhill run ever since.
Hey man, it's hard. It's hard to get back to the finals. I have experienced a very similar trajectory. Here's a question: when you write on in-game and the various sites, what gets more clicks? An article about DFS, best ball, or just one of these prediction market articles?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You know, I mean, at the end,
you're not looking at the back end data.
I'm not looking at the back end data. I try not to, but I do know some of our biggest stories are in the prediction market world. I mean, we broke, if you remember, a few months ago, the Kalshi floated the idea of being able to bet on the college transfer portal. You know, where players are going to go.
Yeah.
And we broke that story. That I think that was our biggest story to date. You know, just as far as raw numbers go. But yeah, I mean, again, as you said earlier, like so much of the oxygen is being taken up by prediction market talk right now. It's just it's hard to, you know, get much else through. You know, the weeds.
So, I mean, Brian and I, this is a recurring topic on the show, but what do we got to do to, dare I say, make DFS great again? How do we provide you with content fodder to be writing articles about the DFS space more regularly?
I'd love to write articles with the DF space every day. You know what I'd like to see, which I haven't seen done, and I've talked to some people that we all know. Why isn't Underdog doing their own little DFS, like salary cap DFS?
Salary cap?
They think that it would be an immediate you know, battle with DraftKings, don't you think?
Probably.
Get people talking.
I mean, it would. I would just say probably based on how much money they make from their best ball product and the amount of shit they get from that user base, it's probably a headache that doesn't make financial sense for them right now.
I got real. Remember last August or whatever, I wrote that story about how everyone in the best ball streets is so nice to each other. I feel like 2 weeks after I wrote that, the whole world exploded. Nobody was being nice anymore.
Yeah, you jinxed that for sure, because all of last year was just people mad and angry for the majority of the summer.
I mean, for DFS space to get it more interesting. I mean, I do think that like FanDuel tried a little harder this year. I think FanDuel, like at least they tried to compete again, especially in week 1 of the NFL when they had basically that free
couple weeks there.
Yeah. So, I mean, they tried. There's just been no, and again, I get it. These companies are not making their money from DFS anymore. You know, they're sports betting companies, but you know, just some kind of like new wrinkle would be fun. You know, to DFS. You know, I've always thought, and I'm told that, like, I guess, was it Star Street or, you know, before, you know, this is like a year before I got into it. I'd love to see some kind of DFS game where the salaries fluctuate, right, based on, you know, like how many people are playing. You know, oh, you know, the 3,800, you know, wide receiver everyone's playing this week. Well, as the week goes on and everyone's building lineups with them, you know, the price is going up. Right.
Well, guess what? I have a game for you, and they're called Underdog Draft Games with what you just described as ADP that fluctuates based on.
I do. I dabble. I am incredibly horrible at Underdog Draft. I don't know what I'm doing wrong there. I like that, and DFS Golf have been my two. Like, when I'm looking to burn money, those are the two things that I need to do immediately. I can't do it. This is. I know this will sound like a made up story. DFS Golf, I dabble. I'm not playing heavy. First, I said this year I'm not doing it. I'm not playing DFS Golf. Like, I'm not doing it. And of course, I had a $1 ticket lying in my DraftKings queue. Right,
so won them right back in like a detective who just recently retired.
Getting too old for this shit. And I build my lineup. When I say I built it blindly, I click. Enter. Got 6 of 6 through, finished like 320th out of 19,000. I'm like, well, easy game.
That's it. See, they flipped the algorithm for your lineup.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
they told the golfers, let's go. Let's do it this week about 300th, between 350. Let's give Jeff a sweat.
Well, I think that's what's, like, to me, impressive about where DFS is at right now. And I was talking with Cody Main about it a little bit last week on After Dark, just through the lens of Showdown. And, you know, it does feel like content and enthusiasm, even just let's say specifically for Showdown, is not nearly at what it was, I would say, a few years ago, when the format felt really fresh and new and all of this stuff. And yet the way contests get filled, and obviously like the Super Bowl, like everybody still comes out of the woodwork to play these things. And it's just this weird thing where like the games still seem pretty healthy from like a fill rate and prize pool perspective, but just like the content and the like online water cooler discussion around them seems way, way less than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, we definitely have like, the high watermark pass, but yeah, I think it's very healthy. I think many, people who are playing are going to continue playing. I tend to think maybe the reason we don't talk about it as much is because of optimizers, sims, and all of that, where there's a little bit less to talk about. Like I distinctly remember like playing baseball DFS every single day. Me and my buddy Matt, we get on the phone for an hour and just to compare notes. This is like 2015, right? Just to compare notes, like what are you seeing? What are you seeing? Now I just go to one of 1,000 different sites, click optimize, and all right, well, this is what I need to know. I used to spend 83 hours a day on Roto World, searching for news. Now, I got Underdog, Twitter, Bing, Bang, Boom. I know everything in 2 seconds. So there's not as much to talk about really, because, all the information's out there, and then it just becomes a little bit of a cat and mouse game of what to do. It's almost funny to me. Sometimes I find in all the sports I play that like when chalk is like so chalky, it ends up being not as chalky, because it's like I feel like it's like Wallace Shawn in the Princess Bride, switching the poison back and forth. Well, if you're going to play him, then I'm not going to play him. But if I'm not going to play him, then you're not going to play him. So I'm going to play him. And like so that I think that's still like where like a lot of the fun lies. Like what chalk is going to end up, what chalk at 2:00 in the afternoon is still going to be chalk at 7:00 at night.
No, for sure. I would say that's how the conversation has evolved. It's like the leveling game is the conversation. It's like, this is what objectively should probably be the ownership on these players. How are our opponents going to process that information? And we know they have that information because it's right. 2026 DFS. And I mean, I think some of us, certainly lots of people who watch this show and other shows in the DFS space, love having those conversations, but it is a fairly niche conversation compared to where we started in the play the best plays era.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I've been playing since 14, and looking back at what my day-to-day was with it compared to what it is now. Like, I feel like I can do, to be clear, not that I'm like some great DFS professional, but I feel like I can spend five minutes on a slate and get as much or more information and more knowledge than spending 5 hours, 12 years ago, just because it's so easy to see and to find and to collate and to, wrap your mind around it. Although I will say this, every time the new year rolls around, I'm like, how the fuck do I do this again? What am I doing? How do I like build my baseball lineups? I literally forget, from year to year. And it's, becomes a little bit of a challenge every April, and then every September and every October, but listen, football, I keep I keep sharp, UFL, Birmingham Stallions, let's go. I'm ready for it.
That reminds me, I saw something go around and I couldn't tell, this day and age, I never know what's a Photoshop, what's real. Did DraftKings really run a golf tournament without Scotty Scheffler in the player pool? Was that real?
I think it was, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Did you, Jeff, that sounds like a story for you, brother.
Yeah, I think maybe he just didn't play that week, but I didn't hear about that, but that would be a fun contest to play in. See, that's smart. That's changing things up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I should probably be able to find the link here somewhere. I know it was Tambo from Ship It Nation.
I thought it was real, but maybe it was Photoshop.
No, Shady's saying there were 2 slates for that, one with and one without. I haven't even Brian, has he just been so dominant? Like, is he just a lock? Okay.
Pretty much. And that's why I was saying, like, well, then shouldn't you change your salary structure to fit?
Well, I thought that's what salary is supposed to accomplish, that there's an opportunity cost in clicking the best golfer in the world, and you got to take a bunch of scrubs to fit them in. Isn't that the game?
And I guess they just didn't want to lower the salaries.
He's at Russell Westbrook, 2018 levels or whatever, where the salary is just absurd. I think it was like 14-1 or something this week.
Yeah,
Or something
I've
ridiculous
seen,
like that.
yeah, I think I saw even
Yeah.
higher than that.
So yeah, here was this. Yeah, DraftKings went for it. No Scheffler.
I wish I knew about that. I would have jumped in there because
Oh.
the lineup I did build does not have him anyway. So we'll see what happens.
There you go. We just you come on the show and we give you more work.
Good. I'll take it.
Yeah. Go. I think Tambo was actually the one advocating for it here in these comments here. So yeah.
But that's smart. That I like seeing that because that shows me that at least someone at DraftKings is still behind the wheel of the DFS product, right? And let's continue looking at that. Like Otani, why they can't figure out a way to get hitting and pitching stats in the same game for the guy, like that. Make him $19,000.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, Jeff, we appreciate you coming on, and anytime you're digging up good stories here, I feel like our interests are aligned in that regard. Lulz, we're always looking for interesting DFS fantasy adjacent hot goss, if you will. And it sounds like you are as well. So let's continue to collaborate and make DFS interesting at the very least.
Absolutely. And I'd like to thanks for having me on. Thanks for rebooking me. I got a little scared that your internet really didn't go out and that, I was just like, the sad kid in the lunchroom eating all by himself. But
you were shadow banned, and Brian and I actually did a private show for our massive fan base and kept you out. Yeah.
I was also toying with the idea of using my 4 years of high school Spanish to just do a Bad Bunny tribute and in Spanish today, but there's very few words that I remember. How do you say "lols" in Espanol? I'm not even sure.
I think you just a little haha there, yeah. Yeah, but League of Legends, yeah, that's what we'll have to get back to. What should people check out? I dropped a link in the chat, and I'll put in the show notes to your kind of author page at InGame. Is that where the majority of your work is right now?
InGame.com, CasinoReports.com, and Business of Betting. The
All right, there you go. And you mentioned that's a new podcast you've been doing in the past few months?
Podcast has been around for about 10 years, and I'm the third host of it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. We've been having some pretty big guests on, and we'll get you guys on there. And it's just same shit that we're doing here, just talking through some stuff and having some fun.
Nice. Sounds good. Everybody check that out. Brian, anything else from you?
Let me think. AJ Barner, just want to, say that I called that.
Yeah, I just want to remind us again. Yeah.
I think that's it, Pete. I think that's
right.
we have PGA at Run the Sims now too. Speaking of Scotty Scheffler, if anyone wants to check that out, coded by the Nerdy Tenor, Pete.
Okay. And I just want to make sure, I swear to God, Brian, if I go to Run the Sims and I see a goddamn fucking projection for Scotty Scheffler, I will be pissed. I want Run the Sims without Scotty Scheffler. Okay. I demand it.
It's X amount. It's X amount.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess all I would say is kids, if you're watching, a little bit of vodka, it's okay. Just not a lot. A little bit of weed. It's okay. Just not a lot. And absolutely no sports betting. We'll see you next time on Lulz.